My name is Danny Bader. Happy to be here with you. You know, as you look at this slide right here, what today is really all about, when you think about it, is this powerful word of faith is really the foundation for our life. And I admire all of you for being here today to invest in that. My mom just turned 86 on Sunday, and my dad's 94. And if you asked my mom where she went to high school, she would say, St. Basil Academy for Girls. And if you ask my dad where he went, he would say one word, West. I am no longer surprised, my friends, when I ask a guy from Philly where he went to high school, it's usually only one word. Roman, Bonner, O'Hara, Wood, Ryan, North, Judge, Doherty, Egan, Carroll, and some of the older guys would say what? Tommy Moore, St. James. I'm never surprised anymore. Me, Kenrick. Yeah. Head coach was Phil Martelli. Assistant coach was Gino Oriema. I had no idea how good I had it then. Anyhow, happy to be here with you. You know, I was getting ready to do a talk not too long ago, and a guy comes up to me, and he says to me, so you're a motivational speaker. You're going to motivate me. And I start to respond, and he keeps going. And he said, how does one become a motivational speaker? I mean, do you major in college in that? I took a deep breath. Now, little did he know that mom and dad have 8 kids. My sister Trish, who's the oldest, and then 7 boys. The Catholic version of Snow White, right on. So listen, when you grow up with 6 brothers and a sister, and my sister's probably the baddest of us all, when you grow up with it, you got thick skin. So this guy's coming at me a little bit. And he says, you know, most motivational speakers that I've heard are Super Bowl quarterbacks. They're Navy SEALs. They're entrepreneurs who have started a garage in their business, and now they're billionaires. Or they're people who have climbed Mount Everest with a significant physical challenge. You don't look like any of those. And I said, you know what? You're right, I'm not. And he kind of smiled smugly there, you know? And I let silence settle. And I said, I have, however, been dead once. When 8,000 volts of electricity came down a metal ladder and ripped into the body of me and my friend Bruce. It went in my hands, it went out my feet. I had holes in my feet, my socks, and my boots. 4 holes, 1 in each side of each foot. And it killed me and it killed Bruce. Only I came back to life. Now this got that guy's attention. His eyes are this big, his mouth's like, and he stutters and he goes, well, I guess you're qualified. And I said, qualified? Qualified for what? I said, look, you guys, me, we're all qualified to share some of our story, right? In support of one another. That's what it's all about. You've seen many speakers. You don't like the speakers because of what they did or what they do. You like them because of the stories that they tell and how those stories make you feel. Because we act from feeling and emotion. So that when you leave here then, the ideas, the insight, the inspiration causes you to go out and make your life better. That's why I love speakers. And particularly today, right, how can we strengthen our faith? So the accident happened. I was almost 29 years of age, and it was over in Glenside, Pennsylvania. I had graduated from DeSales University. I had a few sales jobs. 4 people, yeah, right on. I'm going to talk to my friend Jimmy Greenfield, the president. We're going to work on that. And Obley. Anyhow, the accident happened. Here's the thing. I bounced around. I tended bar down in Avalon. I went to Aspen, Colorado. So it's July. I'm working at Houlihan's in King of Prussia, tending bar. I saw some of you and I'm like, yes. 1989 Houlihan's. Anyhow, my plan was to go back at the end of the summer to Aspen I'd been there 2 seasons. My plan was to go back, get my real estate license, sell a bunch of multi-million-dollar homes, make a lot of money, and ski. And that plan changed that day. Because at 4 o'clock, Bruce and I are lowering a metal ladder, and we hit a Pico line with about 8,000 volts of electricity in it. Down the line, into both of us, dead. They take me to Abington Hospital. I'm there for a little while. They say, do you want to go see Bruce? He had already passed away. I said no, one of the regrets of my life. Then they put me on a chopper. I can still remember I got a helmet on, and I'm looking at my mom, and I'm taking off in a chopper, and I'm like, what the is going on here? They take me to Lehigh Valley. I'm there for about 10 days. I had some operations on my feet. I had a lot of conversations with psychiatrists and priests. And after 10 days, I went home. And my mom said to me, do you want to go to Bruce's grave? And I said, no, I'm not up for it yet, Mom. And I guess about a month later, I said, all right, I'll go. And we go, and we park, and my feet were messed up, so I'm limping to this fresh grave. And I get about 6 feet away, man, and I just crumble. I'm on my knees just sobbing. My mom falls on her knees, hugging me. After a few more months, when the pain and the despair and the guilt and everything got too intense, I said, you know what, I need some time away. I'm going down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And I drove down there. And I checked into a little motel in Kill Devil Hill. Kill Devil Hills. Anybody ever been there? And in the irony right now, my brothers, the words kill and the word devil were very real for me then. I was going to the Outer Banks of North Carolina with the intention of not coming back. Life had beat Danny Bader. Now here's what I want you to do. Take 2 deep breaths right now. Ready? Do you realize those are only 2 of about the 23,000 you'll take today? Do the math. 8.4 million times a year you breathe. Put your hand over your heart. That beautiful little fist-sized muscle pumps 2,000 gallons of blood throughout your body every day. It beats about 100,000 times a day, 36.5 million times a year. And if you are blessed to blow out the birthday candles on your 80th cake, anybody in here already done that? 80? Your heart will have beat about 2.8 or 2.9 billion times. Crazy to think about that. Here's the thing, though. Your breaths and your beats are automatic. They're not guaranteed. That was my problem, brothers. My problem was not that Bruce was dead and I had this tragic accident. My problem was how I was dealing with this challenge. I was dealing with it from my humanity and not my divinity. Crazy, right? I had been given proof. My body had stopped. Your heart, your brain, and your lungs contribute to your body going. Then there's a 4th energy. It's the Holy Spirit. Can I get an amen? Amen. It is, you guys. The Spirit is everything. And I know it because it left my body. I'll tell you about that later. So here I am trying to struggle through this from my humanity and not my divinity. And that was the problem. If you think about this, I was just living. I was going through the motions in life. Anybody ever been there before? You're stuck. You're in a rut. You're in a funk. I call it the valley of the victim. Anybody ever seen somebody who's a victim? When we're a victim, we don't own what happened to us. Right? We don't own it. We blame. Life is not fair. All these other things. There's no traction here, man. There's no traction here. You know where we need to be, right? From the valley of the victim, just living. You want to be over here, fully alive, engaged in life, and trusting. What's the difference between over there and here? The word that I had on the slide when it first showed up, faith. There is no faith over there. There is over here. Faith is defined as belief without proof. Belief without proof, right? Doubting Thomas, he got proof. Jesus came and said, hey, check out the nails. Check out the holes. Danny Bader got proof. 8,000 volts, you're dead. Now you're there, and now you're back. So I had my faith when I was growing up. Right? My brother Paul's here. We had our faith. We went to church. We were altar boys. God was a dude sitting up on a cloud with a beard. And, if you stole cookies, you're going to burn in hell. Right? That was my faith. And then I got into high school at Kenrick, and it was like, all right, don't drink, don't smoke weed, no premarital sex. Okay. And then I got to college with the oblates up there, and my faith started to shift a little bit. I started to feel God more as a friend in a relationship, and I said, man, this is going to help me. And then after the accident, I lost my faith. Although I really didn't lose it, I chose to abandon it. I didn't go to church. My mom said, you got to go to church. I said, Mom, come on. There's no God. Bruce was 36, 3 kids. His daughter was a couple of months old. I'm not married. I don't have anything. I'm kind of struggling through life. Should have been me. Right? My faith was gone. So I'm going to Outer Banks of North Carolina on this path of self-destruction. What I needed was an epiphany. Right? I needed an epiphany. I needed that moment of aha, that insight into the real meaning, the essence of something. That's what I needed. And I got it when I went to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, when I walked into and out of one of these. Next slide, Bill. I've learned patience on this journey. So I'm down in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, right? And here's my intention. I'm going to buy a hose. I'm going to buy a hose. Here's my plan. I'm going to buy a hose. I'm going to drive onto the beach with my Jeep. I'm going to put one end in the tailpipe. I'm going to put the other one in through the window. I'm going to leave the engine running because life had beat Danny Bader. Now, I believe in angels. Maybe not the ones with wings and halos, but angels. Anybody else? One showed up for me that day. Thank God. She was about this tall, 80 years old, spiked gray hair, suntan wrinkled skin, and she had a bright white smile sitting beneath piercing blue eyes. And I'm standing there looking at hoses. And I'm thinking about how long should it be? What color should I buy? I mean, it's crazy, right? Anyhow, she comes by and she says something to me. I don't even remember what it was. I never saw her again, but she jogged me out of that. And I'm thinking to myself, I said, what am I can't buy this hose. So I went to plan B. I found the bar, and I drank a lot of beer and a lot of tequila. That was the way of dealing with it. Doesn't work. People often ask me, they say this. They say, after the accident, 4 questions usually show up. They go like this: what was it like? I said, amazing. They said, did it hurt? I say, only for a nanosecond. Were you afraid? And I'm like, I didn't have time to be afraid. And speaking of being afraid and fear of death, there's a really great movie called Meet Joe Black. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go watch it. Anthony Hopkins is a billionaire tycoon, and death comes to take him. And death is played by Brad Pitt. Pretty good-looking death, right? So the movie goes through its scenes, and then at the end, in the culmination, I really want you to watch this movie. Anthony Hopkins knows it's his time, and he's with death. And he turns to death. And he asks a simple question. He says, should I be afraid? Right? Many of us probably have that question somewhere. And I'll tell you how death responded towards the end of my talk. You can't Google it, all right? Promise? No Googling the answer. And then the 4th thing people ask me is they say, why do you think you came back? And I said, well, I looked for that answer. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, and I didn't find it. One of my brothers once said, we were talking about this, and they go, do you think it was heaven, dude? I'm like, oh, yeah. He said, well, I guess you failed the entrance exam. Brothers, right? Brotherly love. Better luck next time. How about this? And I was talking with my friend Bobby today, and many of you guys. But Bobby said to me, you know what, Danny? I think you're back to be here today right now with this group. And that's what I'm going with. So I'm down in the Outer Banks. I get half drunk. I'm stumbling back. I see the phone booth. Now, when I show that image to young people, if this was the high schoolers and they see that phone booth, there's a very confused look on their face, man. What's that? And I'm like, well, you would go in and talk to people. It was like FaceTime? I'm like, not like FaceTime. You had to put money in. And they go, Venmo? I'm like, no. Forget it. So I stagger out of the phone. I go into the phone booth, and I'm telling you guys, when I pulled into the Outer Banks there 3 days before, that phone booth was not there, man. I think God dropped that sucker down. And he told the angel, he said, listen, get Danny Bader, hardware store, hose aisle. You'll know him when you see him. So I have a conversation with my mom, and she knows I'd been drinking, and she gave me a pass. She didn't give me a hard time. And she said, when are you coming home? We can't wait to see you. And I said, I'll be home in a few days, lump in my throat. And I walked out of there, and a little voice in my head said, I wonder what it's going to be like when I get better. It's the first time it said that in 3 months. Right? That voice in our head. Now, there's a powerful voice in our head, right? And then there's the other voice that Nathan talked about. And people will say, you know, sometimes people do horrible things. I heard voices. And people go to me, God, you believe that guy heard voices? I'm like, yeah, man, because I heard them too. That's what Nathan was talking about with the devil. So I walk out of the phone booth, and something had shifted. I started to struggle with two things. Number one, understanding. You remember the story when Jesus was washing the apostles' feet? And Simon says, no, I'm going to do it. You got it all wrong. And Jesus says, no, what I do right now you don't understand. You will come to understand. So it was me. I thought, man, I got to stop trying to understand this, what happened. And then when you stop trying to understand the crosses that we have to bear, a really powerful word shows up, trust. See, here's what hope is. I don't deal in hope. Hope is to want something to happen. Trust is to have a firm belief in the reliability of someone or something. Our money doesn't say in God we hope, does it? No, in God we trust. So those two things started to shift for me. I had my epiphany. My epiphany came in 3 words. It was almost a little whisper. Do the work. Tell you a quick story about that. My wife, Lisa, who was an amazing Villanova cheerleader in 1985 when they beat Georgetown. Some of you know her. She's an amazing lady. We have Luke, Joey, and Lizzie, 2 beautiful boys and a daughter. Lizzie went to Padua down in Delaware. She was a great runner, is a great runner. Then she went to Penn. She's in her 5th year at UVA right now. And when she was a senior, she came to us on a Sunday. And she said, hey, Mom and Dad, it was January. We live in Kennett Square at the time. She said, tomorrow's going to snow. The school's probably going to be canceled or track. I'm going to get up tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the morning and run 8 miles. My wife, who I love, I told you that, right? Is Italian. And that passion kicked in. She said, Lizzie, there's no way you're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's cold, it's dark, it's dangerous. You're not going to do it. You're just going to have to miss. Lizzie, who's half Italian, right? No, Mom, you don't understand, blah, blah, blah. And they're going like this. I'm no Italian, so I'm like, I'm Irish. I'm looking for Guinness or something at this point, right? So they argue. Lizzie stomps up the steps, right? Lisa turns to me. I'm ready to run 8 miles now. And she says, you didn't say anything. And I said, well, honey, hold on. I come in peace. But don't you think it's dangerous? I said, I'm proud of her work ethic. I know work ethic and blah, blah, blah. I said, how about this? How about if I get up with her? My wife's a nurse at University of Penn. If you ever go in for an operation, she's pre-op, so check out for Lisa Bader. She'll take care of you. Drop the VIP card. I said, Lisa, how about I get up? I'll get a nice cup of Wawa coffee. I'll jump in my Jeep, and I'll follow Lizzie. I'll get in front of her. I'll hit my high beams. We'll stay on the back roads. Everything will be good. Lisa looks at me, doesn't say anything. She just walks away. Lizzie! Lizzie comes down. What? Lisa said, I had an idea. Gentlemen, when your wife, right, Nathan, when your wife takes your idea as hers, you just go with it. So we did, right? We did. Everything worked out fine. But isn't it so true in life? Don't we have to do the work to maintain strong relationships? Don't we have to do the work to build our business? Don't we have to do the work to build our health? And don't we have to do the work to build our faith? That's such a strong, powerful phrase for me, do the work. So now I'm out of the phone booth and I'm thinking, all right, all I need to do here to get better is do the work. But then the question said, how? So my third book is called I Met Jesus for a Miller Lite. I do an awful lot of work in corporate America. Sometimes they let me bring this in, sometimes they don't. But they'll go, Jesus, is it religious? It says Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, but it says Miller Lite too. I mean, they don't. One woman said, Jesus was a wine guy anyhow. I'm like, right on, sister, right on. So I wrote the book with the help of my really good friend, another oblate, Father Michael Conley, was at Salesianum for a long time. I met him up at the sales. And the main character, Michael, is an NFL running back who gets concussions. So nobody wants him, and his world's kind of in disarray. And he has some friends, too, that are struggling with things. And there's a guy that shows up. He drives a Camaro, he has an iPhone, he wears a New Orleans Saints hat. His name is Jay. I was very creative in the renaming of Jesus, right? So they're in a bar, and Michael talks to his friend Eric, who grew up together. And he says to Eric, maybe I'll see you at church. And Eric says, no, I think that the church screwed up Jesus' message. It doesn't work for me anymore. You ever heard that? So this is written from Michael's perspective. So listen, here's what Jesus said, Jay. Michael, my message is not screwed up at all, as Eric chooses to state it. People are coming too much from their brain, their head, in strengthening their relationship with me and living a Christian life. He paused. The deck seemed to take on a momentary silence. They must come from their hearts. They must lead with love. I realized I was holding my breath and I let it out. Michael, this is Jesus speaking. My message is strong. It's continued for more than 2,000 years, and it will continue on. The church is the organization around the message. It's made up of people, imperfect people, people who struggle and people who fail. Then Michael says this to Jesus. So should they come back to the church? Jay let that question sit for a moment. He turned to me and he spoke. He said, they should come back to the message. Come back to the message. So I'm in the Outer Banks in North Carolina on the brink of self-destruction, and I realize that's it. I just got to come back to Jesus' message, and I can move through this. What's his message? Boil it down, my brothers. 3 things. Love your God with all your heart and soul and mind. Love your neighbor as yourself. Turn away from sin and trust in me. I'm like, cool, I can do that. So what I want to offer you now in the remainder 15 or 20 minutes here, 4 things that I thought, what did Jesus do in his life? What did I see him doing? And I thought, wow, if I could do more of that, then I'm living his message. Right? So the first one, let's show that slide real quick if we can. The first one is vision. The ability for us to imagine what needs to be real. The proverb quote says, help me out, without vision the people perish. Now, perish means to suffer death. And I don't interpret it that way. I interpret it without a vision, your faith suffers death. And that's what happened to me. Now, where did Jesus use vision? A lot of times, right, you're going to be fishers of men. Let's imagine what needs to be real. Come and follow me. We'll talk about St. Paul later, right, and his conversion. Here's probably the best place I think Jesus used vision. He's hanging on the cross. And there's 2 guys next to him. There's a bad thief, and there's a good one, right? And the bad thief says, coming from his ego, hey, you're the Messiah. Save yourself. Get me down too. Get us down. And the good thief looks and says, no, man, we're justly condemned. This man did nothing. And he says to Jesus, remember me today. And Jesus drops a little vision on him, right? Amen, I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise. The message there is this, my friends. When you are going through a struggle, you got to see the other side of it. And then you really got to grab onto Jesus and let him get you there. That was the key. Otherwise, we get lost. It's like this. The guy's flying a plane, the captain, he says, hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. I have good news and bad news. The bad news is we're lost. The good news is we're making great time. You ever been lost in your faith, man? And time doesn't stop. It seems to accelerate. It seems to accelerate. I know Jesus dropped some vision on me when I walked out of that phone booth. But you know what? Here's the thing. I didn't walk out of that phone booth. Jesus walked out of the phone booth. and he took me off his back, and he set me back down. That was the epiphany. Like that famous poem, Footprints, right? 2 and then 1. Hey, where'd you go? Why'd you leave me? No, he carried me. And that's what he did through that time for me. You're not here to have life beat you, man. So if you or your family or anybody is in that, it's the other way around. It was almost like I tried to throw in the towel, and Jesus just flipped it back to me. And he said, he said, wipe your face, Danny, we're not done. And I said, yeah, let's go. So think to yourself for your vision. Here's how you practice it, and that's why you're here today. I ask myself this question all the time. How and where can I continue to grow into a stronger Christian Catholic man so I get back to heaven again? I passed the test. So think to yourself, do you really contemplate that? The contemplation of your mortality should not be a sad, morbid thought. I got news for you. None of us are getting out of here alive. That should be a very empowering thought. That should get you to focus to say, am I living Jesus' message right now? So think about that in terms of vision. The next thing, right? So vision. What else did we see Jesus do? Slide up there, Bill. We saw Jesus be still. And the Hebrew interpretation of stillness is to let go. Relax that intense grip on the outcomes and control. That's what be still means. Jesus did it all the time. Right? Where would he go? To the shore, to the desert, everywhere. And I like to think when he went, that's where the Trinity was happening. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Because Jesus is the Son. He's going with the Spirit into the desert. Remember a few weeks ago? And the Spirit led Jesus into the desert to be tempted. Jesus is going into the desert to be tempted? Of course the Spirit's there. Because look, when you're connected to the Holy Spirit, temptation cannot win. It cannot win. All the things that Nathan talked about, what you do behind your wife and all those things in business, and it can't win when we're connected to Spirit. But the key is this, the Spirit resides in stillness. So I love my mom. You get that, Paul, right? Do I love my mom? Paul's going to say, yeah, her Danny. So I love my mom. Years ago, I'm cutting the grass over in Norristown. And I don't want to cut the grass. I'm 14 years old. It's 1977. I want Paul or Eddie to cut the grass. My mom's mad. She says, no, you cut the grass. I wanted to go with my buddy Jimmy McLaughlin, go swimming, girls coming over, playing basketball. She said, cut the grass. So I'm out there now, 1977, Toro mower. It's about a 22-inch cut. My dad's a former Marine, so he's very particular about how you got to cut it in squares and all. I'm testing you now. Any Marines in here? Yeah, hoorah. Some of you go, not former. I'm just testing you. Once Marine, always Marine. So I had to take the bag off and empty the clippings, and then I cut again. So I'm on the side of the house, and I take the bag off, and I empty the clippings, and my mom comes out, and she's coming out the laundry room door to hang, underwear on the clothesline like you did when you had 8 kids in 1977. And she looks at me, and she's like, cut the grass. And I start that mower, man, and that Toro's noise. And I responded with a phrase that rhymes with cut the grass. Kind of like Wordle here, right, guys? Well, I'm telling you what, man. My mom got to me faster than Devontae Smith coming to... I know, it's still a sore subject, isn't it? My mom got to me really quick. She shuts down the mower. Her tongue is between her teeth. That's a dangerous thing. Her arthritic finger is poking me. How dare you? Do you even know what you said? You can't. Wait till your father gets home, right? And I did. There sat the mower on the uncut square of grass, and my dad communicated with me that that wasn't a good thing. I learned my lesson. Here's why I tell you the story, though, you guys. In the noise of that lawnmower, I couldn't hear myself. Isn't it the same way for many of you in life? You wake up, you come back to life, and you start the lawnmower of life. It's your job, it's your email, it's your text messages, it's your projects, it's your family, it's social media, it's all noise. Now, I don't mean to suggest your family is noise. Some of you are like, no, it's okay, yeah. But do you see what I mean? We got to give ourselves the space, the stillness, because that's where the Spirit resides. So think to yourself, are you creating enough stillness in your life right now to let the Spirit show up so now you're just bulletproof, man? The devil don't want to show up when the Spirit's around, man. He wants you weak. And as Father Nathan said, the devil's waiting right outside these doors right now. He don't want those guys that are out now, doing whatever they're doing, ready to go to a bar, watch a game, drink, do whatever. He wants us that are in here. So, vision, stillness. The next one, what did we watch Jesus do? The third one. We'll go to a slide there. Well, before we get to the third one, you all remember this, right? Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs. Raise your hand if you remember that. We all learned about, right? Psychological needs of advancement. I would suggest there's another level here. What's the basic level? Food, shelter, water, clothing, all of that? No, watch. Go ahead and click that slide, please, guys. I would suggest that's it. Because we've heard many stories of human beings that go without water, shelter, clothing, right? And they all come back and say it was the Spirit, the human Spirit. Well, I would say it was the human Holy Spirit. And then the next thing we want to think about is to forgive. Forgive. So when you think of this, perhaps the most famous one is the prodigal son. And the word prodigal means what? Wasteful. Exuberance. The prodigal son said to his dad, listen, give me all the money and let me have it now. Right? Remember that? And he goes away and he spends it all. Debauchery and sin and everything else. And he comes back. And his father says to him, oh my gosh, you're back. Let's kill the fatted calf. Let's have a party. And the other son says, wait a minute, man. I was here. I did what I was supposed to do. And he says, yeah, but your brother was lost and now he's found. Right? That power and forgiveness. And this story has very near and dear to my heart because my brother Paul is my oldest brother and he's hysterical. He's very funny. So every time I would come home from Aspen after skiing 4 days a week and waiting on Don Johnson and Martina Navratilova and Oprah and everybody else, my mom would say, Danny's coming home. Danny's coming home. Come over. We didn't kill the fatted calf. We had Danny's chicken. It was chicken breast smothered in Campbell's cream of mushroom soup. Did anybody else ever have Danny's chicken growing up? It was a pure delicacy. So Paul does a whole shtick on that. It's absolutely hysterical. So when you think about that forgiveness, right, those stories of forgiveness, and then, Nelson Mandela, the president of South Africa, at 44 years of age, they said, you're going to prison for the rest of your life for what you've protested apartheid in the government. And he served 27 years. And when he's getting out, he's walking, and he says, I'm walking towards the gate that's going to be my freedom. And I realized if I didn't leave that bitterness and all that anger behind, I was still in prison. It's the same way for us, you guys. We've got to forgive. Otherwise, we're holding on to that negative energy. And the Spirit is positive energy, and you have that friction. So today, perfect day for you in reflection. Who do you need to forgive? Just do it. And if you need to call, text them or whatever, that's great as well. And the other thing we need to forgive, especially those of us who grew up with, dun, 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 Catholic guilt. You got to forgive yourselves, man. Until I forgave myself for that accident, which nobody else blamed me. We hit the ladder by 2 inches. It was the margin of error. Nobody blamed me. Yet I did. I just couldn't forgive myself. So we spend our summers down in Cape May, New Jersey. Any Cape May people here? I know Bobby, a couple. I get over to see Eustace at the Icona once in a while. So I'm down there a couple of years ago, and I'm reading a book. Our kids are older. And here comes a family down. And it's a mother and 2 little girls about 4 and 2 years old, just a mother. And she's got the cart, and she gets the buckets and the blankets and the boards and everything out. And then she fills up these little Velcro bags, these little nylon bags with the Velcro closure, fills them up with sand. The girls are helping. It's very cute. And she puts them on each corner that holds down the canopy, right? The strings. You know that. So then the husband shows up, and he's a beautiful man. He is just committed to these 2 girls. They're burying him. They're pouring water on everything. And at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the mother, the girls are getting restless, and the mother says, okay, we're going to go. And he, gives them a hug, kiss, the guy does. And then he starts to clean up. So he's got his cart. And he starts to put the buckets and the boards and the blankets and everything else. And he takes these sandbags, 4 of them, probably 8 or 10 pounds each. And he takes the sandbags and he puts them into the cart. He puts this heavy weight into the cart. And he starts to drag it across the sand. Struggling a little bit here and there. I wanted to just give him a hug and say, yo, brother, Empty your sandbags, man. There's going to be more here tomorrow. Here's the message, though. How many of you, me, each day we screw up, we make bad choices, we sin, we fill the sandbags, and we just carry them around? Struggling. No. At the end of your day, hit your knees, reflect, ask for forgiveness, which you know is always there, and empty out those sandbags, man. And say, Holy Spirit, let's go. Make sense? Right? So we got vision, we got stillness, we got forgiveness. Let me get you back to the accident. Bruce and I lower the ladder. The electricity goes into my body. When it comes in, I have an absolute peace and calm. I know that I'm dead. I know that I'm dying. It was the hardest part of my first book to write, Back to Life. It's the hardest part to write because I'm trying to describe in English language that which is not describable in English language. So I have this absolute peace and calm. And then I see Stu, he's the other brother, on the roof. I see him coming down the ladder. And I'm yelling at him, Stewie, get Bruce, get Bruce. Stewie, get Bruce. Get Bruce. I wasn't yelling for help, save me. You know when we're hurt, we yell for help, right? Because I was there, but I wasn't. And then I just felt my soul, my spirit leave. Hello, God. Hello, Danny. I didn't go through a tunnel or see a light. Again, one woman said, are you sure no tunnel, no light? She's like sitting here. I said, no tunnel, no light. She said, most people see a light. I said, yo, lady, you have your near death, I had mine. No light, no tunnel. Praise Jesus. So anyhow, I have this cosmic conversation with God. It wasn't words. There was a reflection of my life. And then there was a choice to stay or go. And I said to God in this cosmic way, what about my mom and what about Lisa? My girlfriend then will be 31 years in June. Yes, June. If you can bring that next slide up, Bill. Here is what sent me back. And man, did we see Jesus do that, didn't we? That's what sent me back. My love. Not, I never got a beach house. I never got that Porsche. I never sold 1 million books. None of that worldly stuff. Love sent me back. And that's our most powerful energy. And you remember Jesus was asked, he said, Teacher, what's the greatest commandment? Love your God with all your heart and soul. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and all the prophet hang on these two things. So, be strong in your vision. Continue to think about how am I growing into a stronger man, a stronger Christian man. Find the time for stillness. Create it. Forgive and then love. So think back to the past 2 or 3 weeks of your life right now, because we want to make this real. Where did you miss an opportunity to love? Anybody miss one besides me? Because here's the thing. Jesus just loved. Listen to the gospel. Study your prayers. I love that The Chosen. Anybody watching that? The Chosen? Great story. Right? Yeah, absolutely. Jesus just loved. He didn't love if you were straight, or he didn't love if you were gay, or if you were black, or Republican, or Democrat, or rich, or poor, or body piercings, or tattoos, he just loved, man. So when we see those differences, right, that's the devil saying, no, you don't love them, man. They're different than you. That's not good. That's where you got to take a breath. And here's what you got to do to yourself. Get a voice in your head. See their soul. See their soul. Because then you know that divine energy is there. We talked about Saul's conversion, right? What did Jesus take away from Saul on the road to Damascus? His vision. Oh, interesting. Vision. What was Saul's vision? Kill Christians. What needs to be real, right? And then what? Spread my message. Live my message. So Ananias came and said, I'm going to give you your vision back so that you may be filled with the Holy Spirit. See, that's the thing. The Holy Spirit's in all of us. We're not God, yet there is some in us. That's what we have to connect to. Make sense? Yeah. Yeah. So I'll bet all of you have probably lost somebody that you really loved. Anybody raise your hand? And they really got it. We did a couple of years ago, and some of you guys know for sure. We lost my brother-in-law. I have one sister. Dr. Bobby Sinnott, Cardinal Doherty, Lycoming. So we lost him to ALS. ALS, 5-year battle. And I was blessed to spend a lot of time with him. Paul did too. But here's the thing. It was Sunday, May 22nd, a couple days before he died. He went to the hospital. A couple family members went, his sister Trish, his brother-in-law Steve, me, Trish, my sister. And we get there, and now it's just me and Doc and Trish. And they're in the waiting room. He never wanted to go to the hospital because he knew if he went, and he and I would talk a lot. Favorite Bible verse, he and I? Paul to Timothy. I have fought the good fight. I've run the race. I've kept the faith. And we watched Meet Joe Black together. When death comes to take, it was powerful. It was powerful. So I'm at the hospital with them, and it's Sunday, and they said, go. Monday, I'm due to fly out to California to give a talk at the Ritz-Carlton, Laguna Niguel. And I know I shouldn't go. And I went. Trisha's like, no, dude, go. Monday, I get to L.A. I go down there. Our son, Joey, lives in L.A. He comes down. We're going to play golf on Tuesday before my talk. Tuesday morning, we wake up. We got the 3-hour time difference. And I text my sister, and she said, no, Doc's doing okay. Do your talk. He's hanging in there. My son, Luke, and my son, Joey, got different information from the niece and the nephews. Doc ain't good. And Joey looked at me, and he said, Dad, you have to cancel your talk and leave. And thankfully, this time I listened. I got to the airport. I flew home. I got to Doylestown Hospital at 9:30. I come into the waiting room. There's lots of family and friends. My brother Paul's there. And in the waiting room, Doylestown Hospital, there was a piece of wall art from Isaiah. It says, be not afraid. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? What a coincidence. And then I thought of Einstein's favorite quote. Coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. Y'all like that one, right? So I go in, I see Doc. He talks to me a little bit. He needed to use his eyes on a computer, and we chatted a little bit. And a couple of hours later, his vital signs were just crashing. And we're in the hospital room, my sister and me and a couple other people. And the doctor says, we have to go now if we're going to intubate him. And I'm telling you, brothers, at that moment, every machine in that room went bananas. I will always remember it. Bells buzzing, lights blinking. Every machine is lighting up like a freaking pinball. And Trissy looks and she says to the doctor, he doesn't want this. He doesn't want it. Can you disconnect him and take all the machines? And they did. They did. And we lost a really good man. Really good. Here's why he didn't want that. Because he wasn't afraid. Because he had lived Jesus' message. And he was ready. I know it. So, back to Meet Joe Black. Remember Anthony Hopkins? Billionaire. Death comes, Brad Pitt. Anthony Hopkins says to him, should I be afraid? Death pauses and says, simple answer, not a man like you. Not a man like you. So I encourage you when you leave here, brothers, and I'm with you on the journey. I'm no saint. I'm still working at it. Live Jesus' message. So that when your time comes, and let's trust it's not for some time, when the angel of death comes for you, and you ask, should I be afraid? What will the answer be? I'm trusting that it's going to be for all of you, not a man like you, because you lived Jesus' message. Thank you all. God bless, brothers.